Hey guys, welcome to Frank's Handyman. Today we're going to be removing this wall. As you can see right here, he's going to first start off by taking off the gutters. There's going to be a little bit other things that we're going to be doing as well. We're going to be also putting some 2x4s on the floor, and we're also going to be fixing a step. Once he took the gutter rails down, then they took out all the wood from the wall and they started putting on this plastic sheet. And this is also the step that we're gonna fix. As you can see here, it was missing a chunk, and it's because the wood ended up rotting, so we had to break it. It is always handy to have a staple gun. It makes this process go a lot faster. All that was left was to cut down all the pieces around the window. We had to make sure that everything was covered. As you can see here, we're getting every single little edge. And as our other colleague focuses on this, the other one will focus on doing the step. That way we could be multitasking and advancing in this project. He's going to be getting all the measurements and making the cuts. And when he's done with that, he's going to move on to the stairs and also screw everything on. Right now he's just moving on the old nail. Once he finished putting in the screws into that one, he moved on to this other section a little bit above where another piece of wood was also rotting. So he also had to put a new one there. There's a couple of pieces that we had to put. As you can see with the wood, it's pretty old. We were just reinforcing all the ones that were really just beat up and rotten. As you can see, like this one. So we focused a little bit of our time taking all of it out. Once we took it out, we were also making the measurements to see how big it was going to need to be or how small. And the length was perfect. It just needed to be shaved off a little bit, just a tiny bit on the sides. And then also we were going to remove this one. And once he removed it, he also had to remove the old nails and shave them off, just because it makes the whole process a lot easier once we're going to put the new ones in. As you can see, this is the overview of so far what we've done. This is the board that's going to go on there in that missing piece. He just has to shave off a little bit on the sides as well. He's noticing right now that this board is also going to need a little bit of cutting because it's not fitting. As you notice here, you can see that they don't fit, so we're going to have to cut them barely just a smidge. And it fit perfectly. All we have to put down now is nail it down and put some screws on there. While he put on the screws, our other colleague focused on putting and also cutting down the other small board. Once he finishes screwing on all of these, we just have one more board to put on and remove, as you can see here. Once we finished putting down all the boards on the deck, we went back and focused on putting on what's going to be the new wall. Right now we're just measuring, making sure that everything fits perfectly, and then we're going to make the exact cut by also making the right measurements. Once he got the measurements, he's starting the cutting process. We also had to cut just a little bit of a smidge just because it wasn't fitting right. Once we nailed it down, then we moved on to the second piece. This one is going to be a little bit more difficult just because we had to make the cuts around the window. So we had to make sure that everything was accurate. Getting his measurement from the top of the window and also from the bottom. That way he makes sure that it's even. And while he's doing that, our other colleague is focusing on cleaning around the window and taking out some of the old caulk. Once making some finalizing leveling, they started and got ready to make the cuts. As you can see, it came out pretty well, but before putting on the whole wall, they started also just cleaning around the window and taking out that old caulk that was going to be there because they're going to end up putting some new one on it. They're also putting this plastic piece and screwing it on top of the window, and this is going to ensure that no moisture or water gets in there. Once that done, then we went back to putting on the wall. And just a little bit prior we put it on, we also put the caulk around the window, and this helps so water doesn't get in. Right here there was a little bit of an issue. As you can see in the top corner, it's not fitting, so we were just making slight cuts a little bit around the window, that way we could push it in and that way it will sit well. Once we made those changes, it worked, and then we started putting on all the nails. And that was part 2 of the section that we had to put on. So now we're putting on the 3rd section of it, and as well it's going to be a tricky situation working with these windows and making the measurements. But since we had already done it once, it moved on a little bit faster the second time around. Once finishing the cut, we had to make sure that it fit. So we spent a little bit of time making sure everything was well connected and leveled. We noticed we had to cut a little smidge on right there as well, right by the window, so it could fit. But once we got that going on, that section was already good, so we started nailing it as well. Once that was done, we moved on to this little last section you could see here on the left side, and then also a little bit of a strip on top of the door. Once this was done, all we really had to do after this was put this little last section of a corner of the same material. That way it was finalized. Once we put this last section here, the wall will be finally done. As you could see, this is a whole overview, so stay tuned for more episodes that we're going to come out for tomorrow.